Well, thank you, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. You loved our next guest in Happy Endings and The President Show and a number of other things where he's always hilarious. Now you can see Adam Pally as a really funny hanger-on who has to suddenly grow up and become independent in Champaign ILL. Let's take a look.
How you guys holding up?
Shitty.
Super fucking shitty, Craig.
So the funeral is tomorrow.
Funeral.
We spent 15 years in the rap game, holding weed and procuring late-night snacks for our boy. Then, our friend died. So now nobody gives a fuck about us anymore.
The gift bags, the handouts, everything.
Handouts? This motherfucker said handout.
You guys need to take care of yourselves now.
Motherfucker, what?
My house always been this small? Hey, kiddo. What the fuck happened to my room?
It's Pappy's room now.
What kind of bullshit move is that, Ma?
I was just about to call you and talk about how depressing it is being back home.
It's been a rough couple days.
It's been a rough week. You ain't gonna do shit, little bitch.
It's been a rough few weeks.
Stop fornicating with your cousin. Don't look at me!
Your behavior of the last 2 weeks has been extremely self-destructive.
And destructive.
Are we still doing this comeback? If this crew stays together, we could be unstoppable.
Ron, do you see what is happening right now? Lou, he is guardian angeling us from heaven.
And you get your ass out there and you fight for that life that you want.
Dude, we're fucking doing it.
Look out. Oh, shit.
Everybody, please say hi to Adam Pally.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for coming back. Good to see you.
Are you kidding? It's so nice of you to have me and let me talk about the show, and it's a blast. Thank you.
Congrats on the show. I was just telling you, I love it. It's really funny. There's a few episodes up on YouTube right now, right?
Yeah, I noticed in this picture, my watch is resting on my foot, which is an odd place to put your watch. I don't know why that happened.
Is that even a fad or anything?
No, I guess that was just because I really wanted my watch to be in the picture, but not in the classic way of around your wrist.
You can start the fad.
Yeah, sure. It's like those Leonardo DiCaprio tag heuer ads where he's like got it wrapped around his fist, and you're like, who checks their time like that? Like,
Macho way to check.
yeah.
Check.
Anyway, what was your question that I ignored?
I don't even think I had one. I think I
what
said
was your
congrats
compliment
on the
that I didn't say
show.
thanks
I think
to?
I said congrats. I really like it.
Thank you.
You and Sam both absolutely hilarious guys.
Thank you
Had
so
you
much.
worked with him at all prior to this?
No, I had met him socially, just like at a concert that we were both at.
What concert?
Run the Jewels. It was a great show. We had a good time, and then
Really great time live band. Run the
great
really
live
amazing.
band, one
I've
of the
seen them a
best.
few
Yeah,
times.
terrific. And we had a good time, and then we had been talking, and this idea was kind of out there that David Casp and I had been working on, and it just made a lot of sense, and we kind of speak the same language, and it was just a great pairing.
So this is a project that you had been developing with your friend for a long time?
Yeah, David and I and the Libman brothers, who are the creators of it too, who are from Happy Endings, had been working on this idea for a long time, and it's kind of a specific thing, and we needed both the industry to adjust to us, and we needed to adjust to the industry to make it happen. And
How do you mean?
well, just I think when we first started doing it, I don't think like hip hop culture and hypebeast culture had become as mainstream as it is now. I mean, there was no such thing as like a Comic-Con, when Happy Endings was on the air. So it kind of evolved, and we evolved with it, and we kind of thought that it was the right time to kind of celebrate the culture.
The culture of hip hop and
hype beast and like sneakers and art and that whole thing. I love it. I really do. I think the best way to love something is make fun of it. But I think that's something I'm working on.
It's it's a high praise really coming from you, considering some of the stuff you've said when you've been here.
Oh,
you clearly love being here, Adam. Thank you.
I do. I really do. I wouldn't talk about how worthless it is if I didn't. No, I'm kidding about that.
Yeah, of course. Talk about the sort of arc of every episode of the show, because what I love about it is each episode is really like they think they're going to get their lives together in this one way per episode, but they're going to have to find another way by the next episode.
Yeah, well, we really tried to use the streaming model and binging as like instead of changing our art to the way that people are receiving it, we really thought about how people are watching, and we were like, I think streaming with comedy, we kind of had to take another way in and kind of make each episode its own thing that is watchable without seeing the one previous, but also has a narrative arc through each episode and the season. So part of that narrative arc that we thought of was like, let's slow down and think really how it would work if your whole world revolved around someone else and then that person died. Really, what would you do? And we tried to go just like step by step, and what eventually ends up happening is you start to crave the things that you had, and you start going, well, how do I get back to that status? And you'll do anything to do that. So as the season goes on, they really try to, get back there.
That's actually how I prefer most of my television, a sort of long arc over the course of a season, but each episode is still a sort of self-contained story that you can watch no matter how much you've seen of anything prior.
Yeah, me too. And we really try to mess with the form in that as well as the season goes on. We sort of kind of start doing not experimental stuff, but we have one episode that is done in halves where a story will dovetail into the other story, where Sam and I kind of go off and come back and go off and come back, and we play with time in another episode, and we do one episode in one take. So we were really trying to say like, well, each episode is their own little thing and own little part of a puzzle, but that doesn't mean that it's not its own story, In one episode, it's in the second episode, your character is out of nowhere incredible at BMX tricks. Yes. And I just really loved that moment. Well, he's not unexplained. He's not actually, because he wakes up.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Happened. So it's actually a dream sequence. We just shot it in reality.
That is. I honestly forgot that it was a dream sequence because I was so bowled over by the fact that we were randomly doing great BMX.
Yeah, well, that's the point. If you're in your dream, you're like, if you're telling someone your dream, you're like, yeah, I picked up a BMX bike and then I was just like amazing at it, But we play by the rules of reality.
Is sort of producing and writing your own shows mainly what you try to do and want to do now? I mean, considering The President, you were working on The President show, which you were a producer on.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an evolution that I, it's natural for me. I sort of came up in this world as a writer and creator and stuff, and then I started acting, and so it kind of went into that. But I think for me, it doesn't matter. I look at it as like, if there's a good job to do, I would love to do it. Whether it's acting in someone else's stuff because someone sees me and I audition for something, they like it and they think it's a right fit. I would love to be able to do that without having to need to rewrite it and work on it. And then I would also love to write my own thing for someone and then produce it. Like, that's producing other people's stuff is such a great, fun, fulfilling thing, because you get to like take all these tools and these things that you've seen before in the industry and kind of take a ship and steer it in another direction. So I really just try to take it by project and not kind of have any sort of career like bucket list.
But do you have more fun, or at least feel more comfortable, when you have a larger creative role or say in the project?
Not necessarily. I think that sometimes it's really fun to just be an actor and to just be like, my only responsibility are these lines and this scene. And then sometimes it's great to be able to come in and be like, I'm making every decision from the wardrobe to the PR to the casting to the writing. So it's fun and worthwhile to do it all, and I try to separate that by whatever the project needs of me.
One of my favorite things that you've ever done, and I think I brought it up with you maybe every time you've been on here, and I forever will, is when you guest hosted the Late Show
Yeah.
on CBS after
Yeah.
Letterman had left, and it was in between hosts, right? Was it Letterman or was it between?
Oh, Letterman would make me 62. It was between Corden and Ferguson.
Ferguson. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
And it was you and Ben.
Ben Schwartz.
And you either intentionally or not intentionally tanked the show, which in an incredible way that I found funny.
Thank you. It was intentional. I think that everyone has different views of what tanking is, you know.
Yes.
And so to me, I was just trying to see how far I could push that at the highest stakes, and that was on national television network.
It felt like a comic, like a reinterpretation of Albert Brooks in broadcast news in a lot of ways.
It was.
Like someone was like,
a lot
let's
of
do
it.
the funny, like the sort of purposefully comic version of that.
Yeah. There's a little Murphy's Law to it as well. Things were just like not going right, but I also wanted to show the frivolousness of it and that like it doesn't really matter, and you know. I feel like a lot of my comedy is existential like that, and so I was definitely having a moment there.
A moment where you were like doing this thing that mattered to others, but to you like didn't matter.
Well, also just that just in the when you pull back and look at like a late night show and how many there are and how there's another one tomorrow night, no matter what. It to me was like, well, let's see if there won't be one tomorrow.
I'm always blown away by when a new show starts and they're like, well, this guy's not sitting behind the desk on this one. And it's like, it's still the same show. Who cares? I don't know.
You mean like going from like Ferguson to Kilborn or like...
Well, when they make like a modest change.
Oh, like they take away the desk.
Yeah, and they're like, this is a big deal. And it's like,
yeah,
no.
well, you know, I think that we're moving away from that now too. I mean, the talk show format in and of itself is like kind of become... a showcase for bits that can live on the internet.
Right.
You know, in a lot of ways. Like, I watch almost all of the late night talk show hosts, and I get them on Twitter.
Right.
You know,
someone tells you that this.
Or I was just like scrolling my feed, and it was like, you know, look at how Colbert rips this thing, and I'm like, oh, awesome, and I'll get it that way.
Right.
And it becomes less about a full show than it becomes about like a highly produced segment showcase. So, and that's just because there's less there's more options, so there's less importance on each specific show, and that's natural. It's a natural evolution of it. So, you know, I guess I just wanted to fuck with that.
Do you ever actually want to host a talk show or a late night show?
Sure. I mean, if it came, you know, I would do. I try not to say no to anything right off the bat. I say no to a lot of stuff later, the closer I get to it after I said yes. And I like panic. I'm like, I can't leave my house. No. But I would have to do it. I would try to think of a way that it would be different. To me, it doesn't seem contemporary to have a man host a late night talk show, right? Especially, I'm not white. I'm a Jew, but people are laughing. It's the difference. There is a difference. Because, like, if the shit hit the fan...
I'd be fine.
Yeah, and I would not. So I
wasn't bragging. I was just sort of
you were
stating.
bragging. It made me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, a little bit. Did it really?
How happy you were about that, yeah.
Just let
sure.
let
Me
you
and my
know,
dude over
Adam.
here made eyes right away. We were like, where are we running?
Letting you know.
So I feel like part of the reason that talk shows don't have the same like gut punch right now is just because it's not interesting to hear from a white straight man. I just don't care as much. It's not my reality. It's not my, like it's all a place of privilege if you're a white straight man over 40. It just is. That's the way you've been brought up. That's the way the world has treated you. That's okay. That doesn't mean you're a bad person or that you don't have the same value as someone who came up in a harder way. It's just the population is changing, man, and education to non-straight white men has grown in leaps and bounds and will continue to, which makes the people consuming entertainment not straight white men, and that means that I just don't care. Yeah. I don't care who rips what political bill if it's coming out of the mouth of someone that looks like you. It's just that's part of the problem with late night television, but they'll never change that because that's them. Les Moonves hired Dave Letterman. They look like exactly alike. You know, like that's Letterman is a genius and amazing. But I'm saying that, you know, I don't want that to get like misconstrued, but I'm saying that, you know, there's a reason that they put those people on TVs because it makes them feel comfortable. But that doesn't make me feel comfortable. The closest I felt to comfortability was Jon Stewart. And he's gone.
Me too, but I'm not. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you live in New York, which is like basically being a Jew. So people are
claps on that
clapping.
one.
People are clapping.
I don't know where they're coming from with those claps either. That
I don't
could
know.
either be like
When I said Jew, no one clapped. But then when I said New York and Jew, everyone clapped.
it could either be a voice of support or it could be some sort of weird anti-Semitic
That was
thing
like
about
a weird
New York.
acceptance. Like all these Jews,
Yeah.
right? There are a lot of them. They're everywhere. We're really not. We're like 0.04% of the population or something. There's so little Jews and so much hate. It's crazy.
Do you think that sometimes with the late night shows that, well, one of my issues is that their jokes so often, because they're just ripping the news of the day or what happened with Trump, we've already gotten all of that via Twitter, and you get to this point and you're like, okay.
I don't.
Whereas
I disagree with you there. No.
Really, because I think when you get a different perspective, like you're talking about,
Yeah,
you don't get the same feed coming through.
But that perspective
like that.
is changing. The problem is the voice mouths aren't. Like if you were to go into Seth Meyers' writer's room, it's super diverse. So he's doing a great job of it. But and I don't think the content is the problem. I just think it's the fact that there's 3 Jimmys. You know, and I love all of them. And I love going on the shows, and I'm not asking for them not to be there. I'm just saying that it's hard to stick out and be important. It's like, you know, there's only one role in this movie, right? And it's played by a blonde woman, right? You can't make every other cast member a blonde woman, or else that blonde woman is not going to be the interesting blonde woman. So that is what's going on with late night television, is that like you can't even differentiate. Trevor Noah is the only one right now from a minority standpoint, and he's hosting someone else's show. So he's still developing his own take on it, and it's, you know, growing and becoming what it is. So I'm also not an expert. I'm just a guest. I don't know anything really about it, but I love comedy, and I grew up watching them.
I felt like the President's Show, what you guys were doing was sort of exactly what at least what I wanted from a late night show. It was this blend of sketch and a late night show that was kind of tackling the news of the day, but mostly was able to have a slightly more broad perspective on politics and on what this administration means.
Yeah, thank you. Well, we were weekly, which was like made us already a spoof of a late night show.
Right.
And I think, again, one of the reasons that the President Show started to evolve and change was because when the President Show started, there were less talk shows. There are more talk shows now. And so it's like hitting a talk show. That format is an old Hollywood classic that is beautiful and great, but it's, you know, there's a lot of it. So it loses its importance. And, you know, like when something horrible happened in America, when I was a kid, you'd turn on Letterman and you want to know what Letterman had to say. And now we turn on the choice that fits our personality the best. You know, we have the Jimmy that we need. If you like it like Letterman, you're going to turn on Kimmel. If you wanted a little lighter, you're going to turn on Fallon, you know? And like it's like curated for us almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just is not as interesting.
Well, I love the last episode, the last special that you guys did, and this idea that Trump is essentially going to have Woodstock reunions of his rally.
Of course he will, yeah. That's
where
it's gonna go.
was like, I thought that was one of the smarter takes on what he's doing.
Well, we always tried, and this is a big thing from Anthony and Pete and I think we all, and Nangle, Christine Nangle especially, was so good about this. Like we tried to be psychologically esoteric in what would happen with Trump, but we never tried to be grandiose. Because once you start predicting the future in a grand fashion, you become a fairy tale. And I don't think it's fair to how disturbing things are for it to be a fairy tale. And so the reality of the situation, which I think what you're seeing now, is that whether or not he leaves office when in 8 years or, whatever. It doesn't matter anymore. It's like what you're going to see with him is like this slow deterioration. He's not going to go away. And he's just going to like, there will be TrumpCon. This is a story that America will follow forever.
And that's all he wants.
That's all he wants, and he got it. He has
Yeah.
it, and he has it. And there will be conventions with MAGA hats where Ivanka and Jared sign pictures, and they'll make money off it. They'll charge huge. I mean, that's what it's going to be, and the country will be recovering, and it'll be whatever it is because.
But they'll have their little corner of the world.
They'll have gotten what they got, and they'll have it, unless some crazy thing happens, which I can't count on. So.
How long had you guys been developing Champaign ILL before you were able to get it off the ground?
I think all said and done, about 5 years from page to screen. It took us to like really sit down and like crack it, and then get it produced, and then get it set up in the right way, and then get enough money that it made sense. And I think about 5 years. But I think that's natural for TV. I would say President Show is about, and that was the quickest I've ever done. It was about 3. So that's what it is. That's I always tell when I'm producing stuff with people. One of the things I say always is like, if this is your idea, you gotta love it because you're gonna be doing it for the next 10 years. Like I hate hearing. Hate is such a strong word, but I just don't like hearing creative types go in and be like, I had 3 ideas. They bought the second one. It's like, well, what is it? And I understand that need when you don't have any money and you're like trying to sell something because you need to work. That's different. But when you're going in with like your idea, if you're bringing in 3, do you love it? Because you're going to be thinking about only this for the next 10 years. Like it's been 5 years and this is what I've been immersed in, and I hopefully have another 5 to go.
Have you ever sold a pitch or gone in with a pitch that you like? Did you learn this lesson yourself?
Yes, of course. I've sold stuff and then I've sold stuff in a room and then a week later been asked for an outline and be like, I hate this idea. Because you're like, and they bought something that was like half baked. I came in to sell something else, but was like, but I also love this. And then you're like, great. And you get the money and that's amazing. And it's a thing and it's a learning experience. But if you really want to do like your shit, you better love it. It better be your shit that you have no problem. You know how many people I've gone around to in the past like 3 days and been like, please watch my show. Yeah. And that's because I love it. And I think that the thing that I can just say to everyone is like 5 years is nothing. It took Matthew Weiner like 20 years for Mad Men. Yeah.
Because he had that written before he even got on The Sopranos.
Yeah, it was his spec.
Yeah.
So like you gotta love what you're doing if you want other people to watch it.
And also loving what you're doing, I'd imagine, helps you write this whole show.
Well,
not just
helps
that you're
every
working
part
on
of it. It helps every.
You love thinking about the layers of the characters and where it can
you're
go.
like, where does
it becomes natural and organic to do it.
Exactly, because and then you're not even thinking about what you're doing. Then you're just literally going to work and having a good time and being like, this is. Then it becomes real art, even though you're making money and I'm very bougie. Very bougie.
What's the most bougie thing about you?
I would say what's the least bougiest thing about me? I don't know. I mean, what do you want to know? What I have for lunch today? Sweet greens.
That's not. I mean, is that bougie? I guess.
You're not bougie?
Yeah, I'm bougie.
Look at you, dude.
What do you got? What?
Look where we are. Look at your job.
No, I'm pretty gritty. I'm gritty.
You're gritty?
I'm super raw.
Oh, yeah.
I'm raw, and I'm as real as it gets, Adam.
What's your stop off the L?
Well, if we're being honest, it's about a 25-minute walk from the L into Greenpoint.
Oh my God! So what, you got an electric scooter?
No, I walk.
You walk?
I ride a fixie sometimes.
You ride a fixie. Yeah. Oh my God! Do you need me to help you with money? Because I don't have any. I have kids.
Let's get some questions from the audience. What do we got?
Hey.
Hi.
So on the topic of Champaign ILL, I wanted to know, was there anything that was improv? And if so, would you rather improv than sticking to the script?
Yeah, there's a lot of bits that were improvised, but I will say that improvising for screen, which is like a weird way to say improvising in TV or movies, is very different than improvising on stage. And I try to remind people that sometimes because when you're improvising on screen, you're looking for a moment that can be repeated from several angles so you don't lose it. Yeah. And so that is very tricky. You got to keep it fresh. So it's more like writing on your feet collaboratively. You know, you're doing the scene, and then you're like, oh, this is funny. You try it, it works. You go, hey, what if you do that again, and then I do this again? It's kind of like the most collaborative thing to do on a TV or movie set is improvise like that, because you need the camera to catch it. Like, everyone's got to be involved. You can't just, like, it has to make sense in the story and the script. You can't just all of a sudden be like, I'm a robot. You know, it's like, what are you talking about? You're the president. So that is a different kind of fun than, like, improvising on stage, which is totally free and like you can do anything. But the writing, to answer your question, sorry, I'm so long-winded. The writing was so tight on Champaign ILL that the most of the improvising was more like cultivating a bit, heightening it, having the writers there who were there every day, which was amazing, chopping it down and like putting it into the right context.
And often we get to see like those bits of improvisation in the credits. You guys have thrown in
some of that makes the credits.
Elevating the bit.
Yeah, some of that makes the credits, and there's a lot of it that's, you know, you wouldn't even notice that's like a reaction shot of something that made the take worthwhile, and then that's in there, and it's all worth it to me, you know. Mm-hmm. It's just a question of how you get it and how you find it.
Next question.
So episode 7 is like all in one take.
Yeah.
What was that experience like?
Challenging, hard. I had just done a play actually, right when we started shooting this with Sam's co-star Anna Plumsky.
Good play.
Thank you very much for coming. And I was like kind of worked that muscle out a little, so I was ready for it. But it was challenging to do, challenging to figure out. A lot of camera, because I feel like when I say to people like, oh, episode 7 is in one take, they're like, cool, and they imagine that I put a camera on the ground and then walked back around and sat on a sofa, and then we talked for 30 minutes. But it's so action-packed, and the camera like moves through the apartment, and like, you know, it was highly choreographed, so it was challenging. But like, I'd kill to do that every day. What a great gift of a script, you know?
What was it like doing the play?
Challenging. No, I'm going to say that to everything. It was fun and a different experience, something I'd never done before.
How did it come about?
I wanted to do a play. Okay. I woke up one morning and was like, I think I'd like to make no money this year. No, I referenced the term bucket list before. I don't have a bucket list, but I have this, I don't know where I got it, but this like need to do and like see and touch everything. And I want to stay in my lane, but I want to drive all over the place too, you know what I mean? And so that was me really trying to like see how concentrated and like regimented I could be for 6 months. And I think that I wouldn't have been able to do this had I not come off that.
Did it work? Did you find yourself concentrated and regimented?
Sometimes.
Sometimes now, though?
It's a long time. 6 months is a long time. You know,
every day you're getting up
every
twice.
Day, sometimes twice a day. And plus you have a lot. You're a person. You have a life. You have kids and family and a wife and a relationship and a job and, you know, outside of that. So you have to deal with all that. So yeah, I think sometimes I was really concentrated and focused, and sometimes I probably lost focus. But I think for the most part, I was really proud of that performance and that character.
Yeah, absolutely. One more.
Hi. I wanted to know.
Cool shirt.
Thank you.
Is that Imagine Dragons?
Yep.
Is that Imagine Dragons merch?
Yeah. It's my
cool
favorite band. So
I love that band. My son loves that band.
Really?
I was actually just thinking, how do I get that and impress my son?
Give it to him.
No.
Take it off.
No.
Take it off.
No.
Give
I'll
it
give
to
you
him.
$100. No. I don't have that.
My friend got it for me for Christmas at Hot Topic. So
Hot Topic.
Yeah, that's the best place to go.
God, I'm such a cool guy.
I wanted to know through the various forms of comedy that you've done in your career, what's your favorite to work on?
When you say forms, what do you mean?
Like satirical, sitcom, plays, even.
I think they're all different I don't like anyone better than the other. I like certain projects better than the others because they're more fulfilling to make. I never think about what they're going to do or who's going to see them because that's out of my control. So I just kind of think of like what I'd like to do and where I'm going to have the most fun. And so I don't think about it like that. You know, I try to take the idea and go like, you know, if someone sends me a script for a multicam sitcom, I'm going to read it differently than I would a horror movie. But that doesn't mean that it won't be as interesting.
Thank you.
Adam, thanks for coming back, man. I love the show. Congratulations. It's on YouTube
so much.
Premium, right?
Yeah, YouTube Premium. It's 3 months. First 3 episodes are free. First 3 months you get it free after you sign up. And then when you do sign up, you get Google Music. And you can like do that thing where you talk through the, like the Alexas.
Oh, yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
YouTube Premium. The show is called Champaign ILL. Adam Bally, everybody. Let's hear it.
Thank you very much.